Quels sont pour toi les éléments constitutifs du programme SAT?
I would say it has a deep structure. Today, I would say I know that SAT is centered on the three loves and the three kinds of self-understanding. I could speak at length of certain ingredients that are not the apparent ingredients, but the ingredients behind the ingredients. One important element of that, it came through Bob Hoffman's work of dealing with the unfinished situation with parents. We'd have to redigest the experience of parents. We have to get rid of all kinds of sick patterns of relation that come from early childhood, that only gradually come into psychoanalytic therapy. Takes long time. It's not systematic. It can be done more systematically. And the essence of that is the recovery of natural love bonds. And this is connected to compassion. It's connected to the ability to forgive, the ability to accept people. And so that area of forgiving self and others and embracing a way of love in the ordinary sense of loving your neighbor. In Christianity, the precept is love your neighbor as yourself and God above all things. And we believe that we love ourselves. It's not true. We persecute ourselves, we devalue ourselves, we hate ourselves, we have very problematic attitudes to ourselves, and we don't know it. We are unconscious of how much we lack self-love, and we don't know the difference between self-love and selfishness. Selfishness is a kind of substitute for self-love, a neurotic substitute. So I am convinced that Freud was right, that starts with parents. And if it's interfered with in parents, you can't do it with the rest of the world. Whatever garbage we have in those relationships is projected, that has to be cleaned out. I have now a theoretical view of love in which there's not only do we need compassion to feel full of ours, to fulfill our own potential, we need devotion. And devotion is important because it's a way of putting to use a kind of love that I call appreciative love. Appreciation is necessary in human life too. When Maturana now famously talks about love, it's the love that makes you bow in front of another person, valuing people. It's love that creates value or recognizes values. And that is most distinct when it's turned to ideals, love of truth, love of justice. We have a world today in which the life of ideals is failing. There are no ideals today. There's all the deconstruction, postmodern movement is a way of philosophizing the loss of this kind of love that goes to ideals, and a kind of distrust of ideologies. But there's an emotional counterpoint. It's just like, because we have had a patriarchal world, and now we don't want to be patriarchal, we have undone the original appreciation which was to the father figure. Because the father figure is like the polar star in the human life. Just like mother is nourishment, the father is the origin of love of God, or however we call it, love of the sublime, love of heroes. So that I have tried to substitute, instead of prayer, instead of mantra, instead of traditional devotionalism, music. Music is a language of sacredness, and can be used more explicitly, more consciously, as a vehicle of enthusiasm, of celebration. Just like there's a need to have appreciation and not just charity, appreciation and not compassion alone, but also we need self-love, which is of a different kind. Self-love is not compassion to oneself. Self-love is not only appreciation to oneself. It's wanting happiness for the inner child. It's something very more primitive. Self-love is like solidarity with our instinctual self. And I think self-love is the most damaged aspect of practically everybody in civilized life, because civilized life is predicated, it sounds like a very terrible statement to say, that civilized life is predicated on castration. We are domesticated beings. We were taught very early in life not to respect pleasure, to put duty above pleasure. When Freud talks about the pleasure principle and the reality principle, it's not reality. It's the reality of patriarchy, the reality of an authoritarian culture which is turned against the internal animal within us. So we don't have this sense of sacredness of our animal nature that primitives have. And that's the root of our sickness, I think. So to undo that, we need the self-awareness to understand our inner division, but we also need a Dionysian spirit. We need a spirit of celebration of animal simplicity, the recovery of pleasure. And so I say that in Sat there is an attempt to make, just like Gurdjieff speaks of three-brained beings, I speak also the language of somebody who was like a teacher to me, Totila Albert in Chile. Father, mother, and child within. What's the difference between these parts, this inner persons, when you talk about the mind in terms of not just intellect, emotion, and instinct, but when you talk it as persons? It's three kinds of love. The child is instinctual love. I want. And the mother is relational love, is a sense of the other. It's like the Buber sense of you. And intellectual love is a love of ideals, is appreciative love.